I know you guys always get bummed when the video stops. You have to wait for the next one, but it's worth the wait though, isn't it? So chapter 22 is called Ella Becomes Speechless. So I want you to think for a second, after everything that you've heard so far, what could make her speechless at this point? Because she has experienced a lot of things happening to her. So if you were her, what is something that would make you speechless right now in this zoo, going through some of the things that she's going through right now? Speechless means that she's so shocked she can't even talk. What do you think? All right, let's find out. Ella and Richie sat in a quiet spot outside Metropolis under a lamppost, trying to figure out where Noah might have gone. Arctic Town, Richie said. All that stuff that happened with Blizzard, I'm sure he picked Arctic Town. What about the Forest of Flight? Ella asked. Or maybe he went to see that monkey with the long tail. I don't know. Me neither. Ella stared up at the sky, a black canvas for the portrait of her thoughts. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Richie said in a weak voice, Ella? Not now, Richie, I'm thinking. You're gonna want to see this, he insisted. Ella looked at him. His face was white. His expression was blank. It was as if no emotion, or as if he felt so many emotions that they canceled each other out. Ella's eyes followed his gaze, and she gasped with fright. Finally, Richie spoke very quietly. What are they? Ella had no words. Not for this. That's the end of the chapter. Bye. Just kidding. I'll read you another chapter. Chapter 23 is called Marching with Penguins. But you're going to have to wait and find out what happens to Ella and Richie because we're skipping back to Noah. The penguins led Noah to a door in the wall opposite the aquarium. The sign read, "Employees Only." 3 penguins jumped at the door and thrust it open. Inside was a narrow hallway with a steep wooden floor. The penguins led Noah up the ramp. A few feet ahead, the passageway swung around a sharp turn. One penguin lost its balance and rolled down the ramp, knocking over the penguins like bowling pins. Looking dazed, but no less determined, the fallen penguins jumped up to their feet and started the climb again. The hallway straightened out and headed toward the aquarium. Moments later, Noah felt cold air rising through the floor. The aquarium was directly beneath them. They reached an open doorway framed with ice. One by one, the penguins leaped through it and dropped out of sight. Noah leaned through the doorway to take a peek and slipped on the snow-covered ramp. He tumbled down and landed flat on the icy floor. The penguins followed behind him, trampled across his back in a single file. Each time Noah tried to yell, "Stop!" a webbed foot landed on his head, pressed his face into the snow. Finally, when all the penguins had crossed over him, he worked his way to his feet and looked around. The inside of the aquarium was covered in snow, frost, and ice. Penguins were everywhere, and the black eyes of each suited bird were pinned on him. Noah dusted the snow off his jacket. His breath rose from his mouth like steam. He simply didn't know what the birds expected from him, so he stated his purpose. I'm looking for a penguin named Podgy. That's the end of that chapter. These chapters are super short and very exciting. One more, chapter 24. Avalanche of Fur. So now we're going back to Ella and Richie. You ready? Ella stared in disbelief. What are they? Richie asked again. 50 yards away, hundreds of little animals were charging towards them. They covered a long stretch of the sidewalk and spilled onto the grass. Standing just higher than someone's ankles, they were packed so tightly together that they looked like the rushing mass of an avalanche of fur. So an avalanche is when a snowy mountain gets shaken by noise or something, and all the snow comes rushing down like lava out of a volcano or something. Like it comes rushing down like water, but it's actually snow, and it can be very dangerous. Richie, Ella said slowly, those things look like rats. I was hoping you wouldn't say that, Richie said. Rats are friendly, right? I mean, that stuff in the movies about rats being mean, they just say that to scare you, right? I don't know, Ella said. You're the one with the big brain. As the animals approached, they grew noisier. Their pin-sized claws scratched the sidewalk and made a high-pitched cheep-cheep sound. The animals were barking, but their barks were quiet and squeaky. Yip, yip, yip. Hold on, Ella said. Those aren't rats. They're gophers, which is kind of like a groundhog. The closer they came, the easier they were to see. They had short legs, squat, chubby bodies, and heads that looked like furry tennis balls. When they reached the scouts, they surrounded them and sat up on their hind legs, exposing their fat, fuzzy underbellies. They watched Ella and Richie as if they were expecting the children to do something. Now that they were close, their yipping sounds were even louder. These are prairie dogs, Richie said, not gophers. Ella leaned toward Richie and said, whatever they are, I'm guessing they know who we are. Richie turned in circles, eyeing the prairie dogs suspiciously. I think you're right. You know what else I think? What? I'm guessing they know Megan. And not only that, but they know where she is, and that's where Noah's headed. If we can't trust Tank, said Richie, how do you know we can trust these guys? I don't. All I know is we gotta help Noah. Richie nodded. Ella looked down at the animals and said, okay, furballs, show us what you want to show us. The mass of prairie dogs turned and headed back in the direction they'd come from, escorting the scouts through the dark, cold night. So the prairie dogs came to get them, and now they're going to follow the prairie dogs to wherever they need to go, hoping that it takes them to Noah, who is trying to find his sister Megan. This is quite an adventure. And look, I'm not even halfway done. We've got a lot of adventure left, you guys.